Hi, David here, and the project for today is replacing the PCV valve on the 98 Ford Contour 2.5 liter V6. The PCV valve is a valve that ducts the engine blow-by gas out of the crankcase, and what it does is it sends it to the intake manifold so it could be reburned. If it's not working properly, you could experience excess oil consumption, and also that blow-by gas will contaminate the oil and turn your oil into sludge. So this car's got 150,000 miles and it's never been done, primarily because I could never find it. In the older cars you can always see it sticking out of the valve cover, but on this car I don't know where it's at. One time someone said this was it, but that's not it. Someone else told me it was under the bank 1 exhaust manifold, but it's not there. And thankfully Ian came up and said it's under the valve body. So I'm going to take the throttle valve body off and find it under there. So thank you, Ian. I sure appreciate it. And I'm going to start by removing the 2 clamps. Clamps hold this air horn assembly in, or whatever they call it. Careful not to tear any of this stuff, because I'm pretty sure it has to be replaced by the dealer. I wonder if it's easier just to take the whole air cleaner assembly out of the way. Looks like some scoundrel who was working on my car and a mechanic lost one of my clips holding the air cleaner on. Okay, the last thing to do is remove this thing. This video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to make a cut here. So I did take off the top of the air cleaner assembly, and I had trouble getting this part out. So what I did was I just disconnected this hose clamp, pulled it out, and then there's a metal pipe that goes in here, and it was easy to pull the pipe out of here. One thing I did notice, if you remember my fuel filter change video, I had trouble finding the Schrader valve that releases the pressure on the fuel rail, and I just found the Schrader valve right here. Let's see. Hey, look how dirty it is in there. That's my throttle plate. See that? I better clean that out. But anyway, right here is the fuel rail, and there's a little cap here. I know it's kind of dark. Take that cap off. That's your release the pressure for the fuel. So I'm going to keep hunting in here for that HER valve. I'm going to take the throttle body off. And I see there's just some bolts over here to take off, probably a couple more on the bottom. I'm removing the throttle cable. This connection just slides on this pin, and you just push it off by pushing that way. This piece fits on a ball on the end of this throttle that you can't see, but it's got this the sleeve. It's a spring clip sleeve, and I just took a screwdriver and popped that spring off. Of course it went flying, and then once that happens, this will just fall right off of the end of that ball. And then there's so you have to remove this bracket. Yeah, I think I do. There's this bracket here. See what size those are. A lot of you guys like to know what size nuts are used. That is a that's an 8mm. There's three 8mm screws holding this bracket on. And there's four 10mm bolts holding the throttle assembly to the upper intake manifold. There's a wire harness here that was just friction fit onto this stem, and you're going to either need an open end wrench or a deep well socket to get that on. And I think I have a deep well 10mm socket somewhere in the parts inventory. When you're taking bolts off, always make sure they're all the same size, because if they're different sizes, you're going to have to mark them so they go back in the same place. Sometimes there's a water jacket or something behind whatever you're working on, and if you put a long bolt where a short bolt could go, you could crack something. Of course, we know this one has to go here because that has the stem for the support the wiring harness. I think that's for the throttle position sensor. I'm no expert, but that's my guess. Okay, let's go find that deep well 10mm socket. Okay, got the throttle body away, and it looks like the gasket's intact, so I'm going to reuse that old gasket, but Gosh, take a look at the crud that's on the inside of this butterfly valve. I give that a good cleaning. Oh, here's the, let's take this connector off. Sometimes I don't know if you push them or pull them or just no standard. There we go, you push on it and then that'll come out. I bet you there's a bunch of gunk inside of there. Yeah, I'll reach in there with a rag and do some cleaning in there. In the meantime, let's find the UGR valve. Might be incorporated in this thing. Okay, so here's the PCV valve. It's this part right here. I just pulled it out of this hose over there. It just pulls out. This part ought to pull out. This part, it looks like a connection. I think if you squeeze these two clips, that'll pull up. But on this part, it's marked Motorcraft EV152, which is a PCV valve. So I'm going to replace that out. So here's the part. You hear that rattle? That means it's working, but if you look inside, you can see how gunky that is. So I feel good about replacing it. Okay, here's a new part. Got a little piece that fits on the top. It's got a little lock here. A lock here. This hose does have a little squeeze clip here, so I had to squeeze both tabs in order to get it off this barbed end, and it clips back on. Was kind of tricky. These hoses are kind of hard to move around. This one on this big one on the bottom is really brittle. It's kind of hard to get it in position. Just got to finesse it. Here's the throttle body. I cleaned it out with a rag somewhat. I'm going to use a sensor safe cleaner. Probably use my MAF sensor cleaner to clean off the rest of the gunk that's in here. I can't put it together in this condition. But this is the next part to go back on. Okay, I got everything cleaned off. Put this back in place. What a difference, huh? The torque setting for this is 88 inch-pounds. And I don't have an inch-pound torque wrench. So just going to do it by guess, and anytime something is specified in inch-pounds, don't break it down like a gorilla, just make it snug. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. If you look at the position of the PCV valve to the throttle body, you'll see you don't have to take the throttle body off to get to the PCV valve. For one thing, I wasn't sure which piece it was, and another thing, the throttle body was filthy and needed to become taken off for cleaning anyway. I don't know how the car operated with all the filth that was on that butterfly valve. So I'm going to put it back together now, and then we'll see if it starts. Everything's back together again, and it seems to be running well. As a matter of fact, the idle seems to be smoother, and it's probably because the throttle valve has been cleaned out, because you wouldn't believe the crud that was down there. Anyway, have a good one. Bye now.